recognition here in Winnipeg, sponsored by the Right to Housing Coalition and the Red Tent Campaign. Wonderful to see you all here. There's lots of coffee here, a ton of muffins and hot cinnamon buns in that brown box, so please tank up and get ready for an interesting hour and a half together. Thank you to Occupy Winnipeg, who were wonderful hosts to us last night. They rolled out the white carpet and turned on the overhead fans, and we had a good night. So thank you, Occupy Winnipeg. Here, this is a demonstration, one of many that's going on across Canada right now. They're starting in Newfoundland. They might be, well, they're going all day. They're having an all-day forum in Newfoundland, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Quebec, Winnipeg, Regina, Vancouver. So you're part of a big movement today, and the point of the movement is we don't have enough housing in this country, and instead of building more housing, our federal government is putting huge amounts of money into jails, and in the process passing on a huge bill to our provincial government to pay for the jails that are provincial responsibility. As you probably can figure out, this is the most expensive and least helpful kind of housing that government could possibly invent. If you wanted to invent the most expensive way to house somebody, you would put them in a jail and lock them up and put guards around them. So, it's about homes, not jails, and we have a few speakers with us this morning who are going to put a little bit of meat on those bare bones. But just to give you a bit of an outline where we're going to walk. We have Connie and her assistant, who are going to be from the Winnipeg Police Service, are going to be leading our march down Memorial here to Broadway and Carleton. We're going to stop at 375 Assiniboine, which is a Manitoba housing apartment, and there's going to be a speaker or two there talk about the importance of social housing. Somebody asked me before, actually it was Michael Welch from the University of Winnipeg, what do you think about gentrification? Which is a very important question. What do you do with gentrification? When you improve apartments, the rents go up. People who've been living there for years no longer can afford it. So my answer is improvement to apartments is necessary. It isn't necessarily always done in the best way. I'm not a judge of that. However, I think that's the role of social housing. When people are displaced due to rising costs, and the cost of construction and renovations are rising, it's, I believe, the responsibility of three levels of government to get together and figure out what are the options for the people who are being displaced. That's what I call social housing. There are three major problems right now in terms of housing. I'm only quoting Tom Carter, formerly Institute of Urban Studies. The first is affordability, because the price of housing is going up. All forms of housing, construction costs are going up, and that is simply making housing unaffordable for a third of our population in this country. That leads to the second problem, which is lack of supply. There just isn't enough affordable rental housing being created. There certainly isn't enough social housing being created, and that's why we have people living in tents, and that's why the symbol for the Red Tent Campaign is obviously a tent. Anybody who would have tried to sleep in one of those shabby little red tents last night would have had a very difficult time. Some people in even better tents had a difficult time, right? And the third problem, and I want to just mention this before I pass it on to Sandra Gessler, who's going to speak next, is assisted housing or supported housing. There are a lot of people, and the most vulnerable people in our society are often being discharged from jails, from hospitals, from mental health institutions, basically with very, very little support and no housing, or very little housing, or very poor housing. And we get it right in the health department. Sorry, Sandra, if I'm speaking against your position. position, but it seems to me with home care, they figured it out that you have to assess what the needs are and provide them, and they talk about a continuum of care. And I have yet to figure out why we can't do that with people who have other issues that make it hard for them to live independently. They don't all have to be locked up in institutions, but you can't just turn them out with $280 a month and expect them to survive. And we wonder why we have recidivism in crime. A lot of people have no choice but to do that. But now I'm getting into Christina's point, so I'm going to stop talking now. And thanks again. Where's our here's Sandra.
Hey, Clark.
I'm here to speak. I took there a couple of times, but today I wanted to say a few words on behalf of a group that doesn't often come out to these events and speak out publicly, and those are the frontline healthcare workers, both in the institutions and in the community setting. We're on the receiving end very often, almost on a daily basis, of the consequences of homelessness and inadequate housing. We see it every day. We see infections and mental health issues and addictions. And when we patch people up, take them together with whatever they need and whatever means we have to help them out, there's nowhere to send them once they're leaving the institutions and the agencies. And we've, I think, are becoming more engaged in looking at why that's so and what the systemic issues are that is preventing people from being housed properly. And as we're standing around here shivering, trying to keep warm with our cups of coffee and warm buns, it's apparent to all of us who live in Canada, live in Winnipeg in particular, that not having decent housing in this climate is an assault on anyone's human rights. And we certainly are seeing healthcare workers are looking at this issue not just as a healthcare concern, but looking further up the stream to political decisions. And a lot of us are joining the outrage about our federal government and the failure to have a social housing policy that provides housing for everyone across the country. And we know this is a national issue. It's a huge issue. It's not getting any better. We don't know why it's not getting any better. Well, we have some ideas, but to push this agenda along and to lobby for decent housing policy and get more money in, and certainly similar to the issue of putting money into jails and housing people that way, with all the cockeyed logic that entails. The same thing, the same sort of financial arguments apply to healthcare, that to leave people out on the street or in poor housing, and the health consequences and the cost not only to individuals and the misery that produces for them and for their families and for their children, but it's a huge cost to the healthcare system as well. But it could easily be prevented by turning that money around into decent housing and preventing a lot of those healthcare issues. So I see some of my colleagues here from the Faculty of Nursing at the University of Manitoba, and I'm really glad to see, yay, there they are. And we are getting our students out into more of the inner city agencies. Most of our students come from very middle class backgrounds, and they're shocked to find out the level of poverty in this city and the state of housing that a lot of people live in, and how many people actually are insecurely housed, who have nowhere to go, who are living in boxes under a bridge. It's hard to believe when you just hear about it occasionally, but when you're out meeting with these folks and seeing the depth of poverty and the struggle that a lot of people experience, and the fact that lots of people are just one or two paychecks away from being homeless as well. So on behalf of healthcare workers who care about this issue and are outraged at some of our government's policies at the federal and provincial level, I'm joining this march, and I'm thrilled to see some of my colleagues as well. So perhaps I can turn it over to Christina, my colleague from the Social Planning Council.
Hi, I'm Christina, and I'm from the Social Planning
City Council, but I was also involved in a study with 300 homeless people here in Winnipeg 2 summers ago. And so I'm here today, and I think we're all here today under the Red Tent campaign because we want a national housing strategy. The federal government is passing Bill C-10, which is an omnibus crime bill, which is effectively going to house a lot of people for long periods of time. But that's not the kind of housing that we want today. Canada's the only GA country without a national housing strategy. And when I was speaking to people that were living in emergency shelters on the streets in Winnipeg, 24.4% had spent a night in jail in the past year. A lot of people told me that they would engage in petty crime so that they could have a warm and safe place to spend the night. Other people were recruited by gangs, by drug dealers, because it was the only way that they could make money, because they had criminal records and they weren't able to get work. Or they were living in shelters and there was nowhere for them to go to get ready to go to work that day. So housing in Canada is a really serious social and economic, political, and personal problem. There's about 2,000 Winnipeggers that experience homelessness at any time of every day. 510 children spent a night at an emergency shelter last year. And it's estimated that about 3.3 million Canadians have substandard housing. At Right to Housing, we believe that housing is a basic human right. The lack of affordable housing is costly. It's costly socially and it's costly economically. Social housing, supportive housing, costs 1/4 of the amount of putting someone in prison. There was a time not long ago that Canada was admired for our national housing policies. And it's time for us to reclaim our status as a caring and compassionate nation, a nation with strong social supports, and a nation that provides housing for everyone.
Canada, November 10, 2008. I live in Ircom, which means it's for 3 years. It's temporary house. I want to move from Ircom January end. I'm applying Manitoba housing for 2 years ago, nothing answered. Still now I'm waiting list. Also, I'm applying Winnipeg housing 6 or 7 months ago. Nothing answered still now. I hope to have 4 children. I have disability son. I'm suffering with my children. Where I go, I don't know. I'm so in trouble with my family. I can't rent for private housing in the market is so expensive. Who people have a low income can't rent private housing. How much family is in trouble with house? I don't know, maybe many mommies, many daddies like me who have a low income will be, I think, is homeless. I'm worried about house. We need help. We need more house. We need free life. So this is why I come today in the morning early. It is very hard situation about housing. I don't know how, what does people say, but nice to see you today. We meet together talking about housing problem. Thank you.
Social housing is a right.
Welcome everyone to National Housing Day. Build homes, not jails. At West Central Women's Resource Center, we help women and families find housing, about 200 a year, who we prevent from eviction, getting out of welfare, getting their bed bug treated. I have a couple of people that I want to tell a little bit of their story that we've helped at the center. I have a lady that I helped get into housing. She was homeless for a while, lived in bus shelters and place to place, resort centers. It was so sad, I didn't like it. And there was another woman that found housing through Osborne House. Women are homeless after they leave a bad relationship or violence. Women are homeless after getting cut off welfare, often due to cut off from welfare, addiction, or cut off disability. Many women homeless don't have addictions or mental health issues. They have their kids apprehended due to not finding housing, or are homeless after CFS apprehended their kids. That is not right. Yesterday, we toured the Bell Hotel. A woman who goes from shelter to couch surfing, their wait list is already over 60 people. We need more old hotels turned into housing first homes like the Bell Hotel. Yes, Manitoba government is building 300 new units per year, but with rent increase and condo conversion, we are losing more affordable housing than building. Do we need that? No. We need to catch up to the rate we were building new social housing before 1990. We need the private sector to set up and build not just condos, but mix of units. Homes, not jails, is the answer, right? Yes.
Homes, not jails. 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 Homes, not social housing is a right. We will not give up.
But a big sign like this, you can't see.
I work with the John Howard Society of Manitoba, and that's one of the reasons why we're actually ending the march here today across the street from the Remand Center, because we want to bring attention to the fact that the federal government is spending billions of dollars on housing people, and it's planning to spend billions more dollars housing people. Unfortunately, the money that they're spent to house people is going to be spent on prisons and jails. And we have to turn this government around, and it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of priorities. So we have a couple of speakers here today who would like to share their experiences with you. The first speaker we have is a gentleman who's standing right next to me. I'd like to introduce Crochet of Build Winnipeg. And we'll just trade.
We like Bill. We like Bill.
Thank you.
We like Bill. We like Bill.
I used to say I was Bill, but now I'm inner city renovations. We work in the inner city along beside Bill because we believe in low-income housing to be affordable and to get families in affordable housing. And the right the right kind of housing, like safe housing. My name is Crochet, and I came here today to talk to you about housing and about jails. We don't need more jails. Do we want to fill up more jails?
No!
Or do we want to fill up more affordable housing?
Yes!
Me, I come from the north end of Winnipeg, and let me tell you, some of the houses I grew up in were not safe at all. I just want to say that the Bill C-10 is not the way to go. We don't need more jails. We need more programs. We need more people getting into AA. We need more people with support groups like Build, where you can train people to help low-income people have nice houses, warm houses, to save money on their bills so they can give money to their children, put clothes on their back, food in their bellies. That's what we need, not more jails.
As I said, women are usually the primary caregivers of their children, and when they lose housing, their children also lose housing, and they're the secondary victims. The other issue at hand is the fact that with building the new jails and having a lot of apartments being turned into condominiums, there's less housing available. There's less of a housing pool for women and their children or families. And I guess the other issue is that most of the money is being spent on primary service needs. We don't see a lot of secondary housing, tertiary housing, a more harm reduction model. All we see is money being spent primarily for housing, primarily for jails, and dealing with the new justice bill. And we don't see any of that trickle-down effect to have more harm reduction models of safe housing for women, children, men, single men who have addiction issues, poverty issues. There's no Aboriginal men's shelter here in Winnipeg and other cities that exist for Native guys. We don't see a lot of stuff that needs to be part of the overall fabric to make Manitoba and Winnipeg more equal for all. And that's all I have to say.
Again, thank you very much for coming out. Really appreciate the support we got this morning. Hope you managed to stay warm enough. So again, thank you very much, and have a happy National Housing Day.
Shelter and food and the basic necessities of life. And these barracks over here have been empty for like 8 or 9 years now, and they can be used for housing. So we're here to tell people that, yeah, let's not waste and waste resources when we can help everyone who's on the street right now.